what's up? Welcome to my walkthrough of my most recent patch, Lost in Dance. So, here's what we got. We got about 3 or so voices happening, controlled mostly by my Varigate 4+, which is kind of the brains and clock of everything. I use the mini brute mainly for the LFOs and the sequencing, as well as some percussion stuff. But let's check out the different voices that we have going on. The Mavis is our main melody here. Plaits is our kind of droning bass part. Mini brute throws in an oscillator 2 in there a little bit later. We got a bass drum and some white noise percussion. So let's talk through it. So the Mavis here has given us this main melody here, being sequenced by one of my Varigate channels here. One thing to note too is that the Varigate is also resetting itself every once in a while. Channel 2 here is into the reset, and occasionally will reset after only 6 steps instead of all 8, if you see it here happening. So that's being sent into the Bard Quartet that I am sequencing the harmonies, of course, as well. Kind of on a C scale, or into an F chordish scale, back to a C, and then to a D minor feel. And I use that across the different voices as well. But yeah. So here's the Mavis. This is doing something where I have the LFO at audio rates as well, getting the same quantized input into it, so that volt per octave is being multed to both the main VCO and the LFO, so that it's kind of FMing itself, and then mixing them together and folding it into the filter. I also have the 4th channel of Maths here, cycling, being sent to the Cutoff as well. And that output's just being sent to my VCA mixer, my hexagram. So let's check out Plaits. So this is set on one of the DX7 orange modes, being triggered somewhat randomly by this 4th channel of the Varigate here. It's got the big thing is you can see the modes changing, and I did that, or the model I guess it's called. The model is being changed by stepped random voltage from this LFO, but that's being half rectified by Maths here. So I'm sending it into channel 2 and only turning it up a little bit, and then the OR output here. So it'll only take the positive values of those stepped random values, and then that's being inverted and sent into here. So I'm mostly getting this setting right here whenever this LFO is negative, and then whenever that LFO is positive, it kicks me backwards to some of the other orange modes. Pitch-wise, it's being sequenced by channel 2 up here on my Bard, mostly just on one note each, on my roots, on my C and my F. But then when I go to the D minor, you can see it's traveling between a couple of those, and that's coming in from channel 1 here of my Maths that's cycling as an LFO as well. The other interest that's being added on top of Plaits is that it's being sent out into the Three Sisters here. So the Three Sisters is adding a lot of the interest to it. Plaits is going into the all, and then I'm passive mixing together the different outputs. I think you get a better sound that way. And I'm having the sample and hold that, the random sample and hold that I'm using over here, or that I'm getting from over here, is not only changing the timbre knob, but is also changing the FM of the Three Sisters, and then a different random LFO down here is controlling the span. And so on this Formant mode, you get some really interesting moments as the span changes those formants. So yeah, that's what the Three Sisters is up to. Gets some interesting things. Speaking of Three Sisters though, if I flip it into crossover mode, it helps us easier for us to hear the other voice I'm about to talk about. Goes into the low input of my Three Sisters here. We have oscillator 2 from my mini brute. That's just kind of being sequenced by channel 3 here of my Varigate into the Bard Quartet, and again kind of locked into roots and fifths of my chords that I have programmed, and just droning a little bit, kind of giving some other stuff underneath this Three Sisters, but you can really kind of only hear it when you're in crossover mode. So at the beginning it's kind of not really there much. It's mostly about the Plaits. When you're in Formant mode, then when we hear the crossover mode, we get an extra layer of those lower notes. So that's oscillator 2 coming from the mini brute, and that's the 3 pitched ones. So besides that, I've got my bass drum. The bass drum is just the filter. The filter, the mini brute resonating. I got the resonance all the way up, so it's self-oscillating, and then I just kick this up into audible range with the ADSR. So the normal gate track is kicking off the ADSR and the AD envelope. And I've got my all locked in there. The other thing that makes a neat change to the sound is bringing in more or less of the brute factor. So, and then finally is the white noise percussion. With this one, what I did that was kind of neat is down here on the envelope track. Oh, by the way, I'm using the velocity track to do my chord changes on my Bard. Just changing to 1 volt and sending it to the right level. But anyway, pressure, I've got a bunch of envelopes of various lengths, and then some of them empty, and then just running it on random mode. So that's my white noise, but it's not all of what I have on the white noise, because I have separate control over that through this attenuator. And I also have attenuated up here the envelopes of my ADSR. So I have the white noise, and I can mix and match, accenting where the bass drum hits, as well as my 16th notes. But because this one that's on my bass drum hits is a attenuverter, I can also make it so that the snare drum or hi-hats specifically don't hit when the bass drum goes off, just by turning that down. And so those 2 CV controls for this 16th notes envelopes, as well as the ADSR bass drum envelopes, are then being mixed together right here, and then sent up to the VCA controlling the white noise. So all of that then, the Mavis, the Plaits, and oscillator 2 through Three Sisters, and the the white noise and the bass drum are all then being sent out to the effects aid on some delay and reverb. So, kind of a long explanation for kind of a long video because I just kind of lost myself in the middle there, but hope you enjoyed, and yeah, happy patching.